No Hindu from Bangladesh would like to cross over. Even no Bangladeshi Muslim would like to come over to this side.
But for us, it's not about a Muslim, a Hindu. It's not about religion actually. Our fear, our apprehension is in flux.
Ketika sin ke peningkong, hakaba, yaka citizenship gila but ngiyale ban defined rule in terms of religion.
We've always called them the Khar, non-tribal. There's that. By asking for an instrument like the inner line permit, I don't know that you can fight the CAA with this. You know, it is like cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Clarify whether the CAA may have an impact on the Christian religion. Kublai Shibun, ya kapor jong pi baro about ngapdiang sngobhai pi siya kani program ka jongi ka bangikot ka campus talk. But mintaging ti ngini kran halor kataga Citizenship Amendment Act arajar khat khandai, baga Citizenship Amendment Rules arajar pusaw. Ya kani ka discussion ka jongi mitas ngi la panyay daga forefront media daga ringkat ka jinga lang jong ka Martin Luther Christian University but ngamlak lem ai kublai ya kani ka university na ya ka jingmang nakloy ka jong kaban snok ti lang mangi ban pelong ya kani ka jinga kran. Bang Hashim Roy kani kala dog kabuban pediang sngobhai ki noy Hashim mentagi jongi ko bangla daban penitho ne Professor Prasenjit nganehu prof I mai ikong Patricia Mukim nang tay Dr. Benjamin ba iba Donald. Dia hakani ka jingelang jinge mentas ni nyele ban kren kindat halor kita ki implications jong kani ka Citizenship Amendment Act. Dia kindat kumban sedang ya kani ka jinge kren ka jongi ngakwa ban tip na ki panels ki jongi ka ki snow ka baki snow habaki bri ki kren chapang ka CAA. So I want to ask my first question if you can brief us about the CAA, like when you first hear the CAA or when people talk about the CAA, what comes to your mind? Ngin sedang siya iba Donald.
So the Citizenship Amendment Act, it first came into the limelight during 2016. At that time, it was the Citizenship Amendment Bill. During 2016, the KSU under the aegis of the Northeast Students Organization, comprising of 8 students organizations from Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, Assam and Manipur, we have been organizing demonstrations to oppose this bill. But in 2019, without paying any heed to our pleas and our demands of the people, the indigenous people of the Northeast, the government of India went ahead to enact the CAB into the CAA. A series of agitations and demonstrations have been organized by the NESO, and it had happened here also in Meghalaya. Why do we, the indigenous people of Northeast, are opposing the CAA? Yes, we have seen that in the rest of the country, we can say mainland India, it is because they have not included Muslims. But for us, it's not about a Muslim, a Hindu. It's not about religion, actually. Our fear, our apprehension is in flux. The region of Northeast have been plagued by unabated illegal immigration since independence, and especially during the Bangladesh Liberation War 1971. In 2004, the Ministry of Home Affairs states that there are 1.20 crores of illegal Bangladeshis in India, and half of that, 50 lakhs plus, are in Northeast. Some have get documents, some are still undocumented. And apart from that also, the region had been demanding a cut-off year. Like in Assam, there is an Assam Accord. Earlier there was an illegal determination of illegal immigrants. It was in 1983, but it was struck off by the Supreme Court. In 1985, they signed the Assam Accord. And the Assam Accord states that any illegal immigrant who comes to Assam after March 24 should be detected and should be deported. And similarly also the Khasi Students Union have been demanding that the cut-off year in the state should be 1951. But later on, during the 90s, during the tenure of Bapol Lingdo, we demand that the cut-off year should be 1971. So that is our demand, because we understand that the region, let's say for my community, the Khasi community, we are only 15 lakhs in the world. And Bangladesh is a country with 16 crores population. And there are 1.6 crores Bangladeshi Hindus. Imagine if only 25 lakhs comes to Meghalaya, then we will be overwhelmed. Our community will be wiped out. We will be minorities within our own land, as had happened in Assam and Tripura. Thank you.
Ngan shuai candid ka historical perspective halor ka CAA but ka Citizenship Amendment Rules 2024. Ngidon ka Citizenship Act 1955, which is a very, very important act. Hapokari India jong hibor okaway. Hendai kani kadika sien ka bandingkong kani menta kadika sien ka bandingkong hakaba yaka citizenship ngila but ngiyale ban define ru in terms of religion. Kampat juja menuru haka history jongari India ka jongi ba yaka citizenship ngin define lani ngiyale ban decide haka liang jongga religion ne kataka liat niam ka jingit ka jongi kani kadika sien ka bandingkong dei na kataka daw ba menta ka sni kat bang dang ya kren hangi ka Supreme Court kadang snap ya a batch of 237 petitions which are against the very spirit of the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 and the rules of 2024. Kibabur hiki bri habang yosno ka CAA haki puar menta habang isngap. Ni suthu bet ba kan ka CAA kadi ka jingwan ra jong ka sarkar pedeng BJP Malayalam daga BJP. Hindai ladang iti khandet bat ngile ban yet ya ka amendment halor ka CAA ka bedai ban I citizenship bigi bri hakaliang jong ka religion ngin labba the very first instance ba ngile ban I ya ka citizenship in the basis of religion kadai ka sarkar Congress hoat along ka jingsisha ka boong iba Donald Mentan bagadon ka Assam Accord of 1985 hakabahan ningkong ki ong baka cut off here kan day 1st January 1966 anyone kibawan sa for Assam before 1st January 1966 can regularize yaki as Indian nationals. Hinray hadian pat ki on 24th March 1971, which means that ladapidon hapo Assam after 1st January 66. Hinray before 24th March 1971, Pinsha remove naka electoral roll for 10 years, and during that time can apply the Foreigners Act, but yet lapidai ne pindai uta u genuine citizen ubala bansha consider as a national of this particular country, India kajungi. Kami kadai the very first ever amendment halor ka Citizenship Act of 1955. Hindray namar ka amendment kakta tangi ka Assam. Kamdadon kata ka jingya hala ka jingya kren watla ka accord jong ka Assam Accord in 1985 ki sign hapo New Delhi hangto por at the center kadon ka sarkar jong ka Congress hakaba the late Prime Minister of this country Rajiv Gandhi was a Prime Minister but ka sarkar hapo Assam hakato ka por in 1985 kadai ka sarkar Congress ke ka bangabot bang pensai hangi kandid banginya teplang baro kalong ba nimlong ban shuong bet ba ka CAA kadai ka jingle jong ka sarkar BJP at the center ka CAA hi the very first amendment lawan ra hapo Assam daga Congress Party kata ka number 1. Number 2, and the more important amendment kaja House Name 2003 and 2004. It is very interesting ba hapo Rajasthan hakapot bakadon ka sarkar Congress jong Ashok Gehlot the then Chief Minister of Rajasthan. Hakili ki border areas jong ka Rajasthan kum ka Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, but ka Barmer kum ta ter ki bun bha ki immigrants ki baban. Namar ba kaladon ka thma ba 1965, 1971 between India and Pakistan, and 71 le kadan sa East Pakistan. So namar ba giwan room ki breu Ashok Gehlot utho sa ka sarkar pedeng hakatopor. This was a Congress Chief Minister of a Congress governed state. Utho siya po ka Sarkar Padang, hatu kapua Sarkar Padang kadai ke jongka BJP led by Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and LK Advani that time was the Home Minister and also the Deputy Prime Minister of the country. To LK Advani hapua ka Jingthmu Shithi bol bhajong Ashok Gehlot of the Congress government u table ya amendment hapua ka assembly. This was in 2003 December. Haka kapratrik u December 2000 a very important event happened. Dr. Manmohan Singh, the then Prime Minister of our country, who was also the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Ukran on record in the Rajya Sabha, Amba, Hidon kini kichat bria ki barong siapa kari kujongi, baladang hidon kam ban I citizenship yaki, we have been long, he used the word and I quote, liberal. Giliban indirectly ngatharai umbut ban ong bang giliban consider yaki hakarukom kabolong very liberal baladang giliban I ngun I. That was 18 December 2003. In January 2004, the very amendment last signed to President Yungkari India. But Kanika amendment was a very important amendment. But now, by in 2004, this was January 2004, just few months after that, the BJP at the center lost the election. Kawan ke UPA won. And Dr. Manmohan Singh, namar Sonia Gandhi kaklamkwa belong Prime Minister because of several issues. Dr. Manmohan Singh then became the Prime Minister of the country, and ever since then, the Congress Sarkar, wala ka initiate ya kani, kaklam kata asyo ya ka. It was in cold storage. Menta ka BJP haba kawan ra ya kani, bun bha ki batho ki argue kumli ba, ka jingle ajo ka BJP menta, be it CAA, next kanwan ka NRC, next kanwan ka UCC, and certain other things are all in line menta. The main reason and the main spark kapapenong ka Sarkar BJP to really take it forward minta kadai kato ka amendment in 2003-2004 where the Congress party actually played a very central role. Tinata ka daw ni kung ki pagba ki bapuli ki bile ban pej ban sotho ya ka issue ni ban pej ya ka hakata ko kom ko belong very holistic.
Thank you, Dr. Benjamin. Compat.
With due respect to all those who do not understand Khasi, I think I'll speak in English. I think the main problem with the CAA is that it violates Article 14 of the Constitution, which grants equality to all citizens, because it differentiates on the basis of religion. And I think we cannot say that in Meghalaya we are not looking at this religious segregation of the CAA. We have to look at it from the national perspective. It's a very defective act because it leaves out one religion, and it also leaves out people who are atheists, non-believers, and people of the indigenous faith. We have so many Khasis in Bangladesh who might be persecuted, who might be wanting to come back to their homeland, but because they do not fit in the religious criteria, they may find it very difficult to come to their own homeland despite this CAA. So that is one point. And the other point is you are allowing citizens, Hindus, Hindus, Parsis, Sikhs, Buddhists, Christians from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan. We can understand Pakistan and Bangladesh because they were part of the larger Indian space during the British period, and they were segregated only after partition. So we can understand that there are a lot of, there are a lot of citizens on both sides of the border. Some may want to be coming this side, others want to be going that side. In fact, that exchange also happened. But why bring in Afghanistan here? Afghanistan has always been a separate country. So if there are Hindus there, how many Hindus are there? Do we even know that number? And what about Sri Lanka, which is our immediate neighbor? There also there is persecution. In Bhutan, Bhutan is a Buddhist country. You're not allowed to observe any religious ceremony except Buddhism, and a particular kind, Vajrayan Buddhism. Then what about Myanmar? In Myanmar you have the Rohingyas, then you also have the Tamils who are persecuted in Myanmar, right? What about them? So one really doesn't understand the logic behind the CAA. And of course it is vote bank politics. It is to appease the larger number of Hindus, with due respect to the Hindus, because the present government is a Hindu majoritarian government, whether we like it or not. And therefore, this is vote bank politics essentially. Otherwise, why bring it now? Why heighten the noise about the CAA at this juncture when the country is headed for the parliamentary elections? It was, undercover for so long, and now suddenly, maybe because the Ram Raj issue is not getting so much traction, so you bring in this also. It is to create a sort of a Hindu fervor, and I think that is important for us to understand. As far as Meghalaya is concerned, I think, as Donald Thaba said, we fear infiltration in large numbers from Assam, because there are job opportunities in this state. I'm sorry to say, but if people are coming here, if infiltrators are here today, it is because they are finding some opportunities. So how do we plug those gaps unless we, the local people, the indigenous, take up all the different kinds of labor that the immigrant is taking up? So I'll stop here for now.
Thank you, Ko. Professor?
Thanks. I think, we already covered a substantial area, starting with Donald to Kongpet. I won't repeat those points, but suffice it to say that the rules that are framed for CAA, these rules have so many lacunae in the sense that it blurs the very distinction between citizen and the non-citizen. That's the major problem. And that problem has to be addressed particularly in the context of certain parts of India, especially Northeast is one part, the other part is of course Bengal as a state. Now, what is going to happen probably is a set of applications, but this set of applications that are not verifiable, because these set of applications require documents from Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. How can the government of India verify documents that testify somebody as belonging to Bangladesh, Pakistan or Afghanistan? That's a major problem. That's the first problem that any applicant is going to face. So therefore, the larger perception as it has grown in Bengal is that many people won't be able to even apply. Now look at the situation in Assam. Assam Chief Minister was mentioning 3 to 6 lakhs people might apply under CAA. Now that is again a very difficult proposition, because no one can give documentary evidence that they are persecuted in Bangladesh, Pakistan or Afghanistan. Persecution cannot be proven. So therefore, it's impossible that anybody can get citizenship through that kind of a application process. Now this actually brings us back to the core issue. If you look at CAA, there is a cut-off date of 31st December 2014. Those who have applied, registered themselves with FRRO, Foreigners Registration Office, before 31st of August 2014, they can apply under these rules. And the number is stipulated in Joint Parliamentary Committee report. Number is only 31,834. I was also deposing before the Parliamentary Committee, Joint Parliamentary Committee. And my deposition is recorded there. So I also pointed out, there also I pointed out that why are you trying to play around with this issue of citizenship when we have a consensus in the Northeast that 21st March is the cut-off date. After that, those who have come, they should not necessarily be in the Northeast. They can be distributed elsewhere as well. I fully agree to that proposition, because if the local and the indigenous people in certain parts of Northeast are not comfortable with the idea that beyond 25th March people have come, settled and they are trying to become citizen, alter the demographic pattern, if all that is not acceptable, certainly it is not acceptable, because there is a demographic threat here which is very rightly to be recognized. Now look at various parts of Assam. I'll give you an example of Assam. Assam has 4 cultural zones. Assam doesn't mean only Brahmaputra Valley. Assam also has a Borak Valley. Now Borak Valley historically has been part of Sylhet district. By way of an arbitrary referendum, Borak Valley, large part of Borak Valley and Sylhet district were divided, and the large part of it was sort of pushed to the then Pakistan in 1948. Now, in 1947, June. Prior to that, it was undivided Sylhet district. So a part of the Sylhet remained with Assam, and the large part of Sylhet went over to the Pakistan. Now what happens to the population, because this area has large number of Sylheti speaking Bengali population. So what happens, a large part of Sylheti Bengalis have involuntarily been pushed out to the other side, those who didn't want to be with Pakistan, involuntarily, by way of a referendum which was hardly any legalized, validated referendum. So partition has left a certain kind of a problem on the northeast. You can think about Wycliffe Seam, why he didn't join India and he preferred to remain in eastern part of Pakistan. So you have this large number of communities. Khasis are of course there in quite a large number in Bangladesh. Jaintiyas are there. Of course there are Bengalis, even Assamese people are there in Bangladesh at this present moment. Now if we want a certain kind of a population transfer on the basis of a choice, the law should have been very different. This is not the kind of law. The law should have been something like the American law, something like Jackson-Vanik Agreement, which is about taking the Russian Christians into United States. And it's a kind of an exchange process that Jackson-Vanik Agreement has pointed out in case of United States of America back in 1952. Again, there is this very interesting piece of legislation that America has brought out in 2004. It's called Specter Agreement. The agreement is meant for accepting Iranian religious minorities, comprising of Jews, Armenian, Assyrian Christians, Baha'is, then Sabian, Mandiyas, and Zoroastrians. So religious communities based on the sense of persecution can be identified. But here, not identifying everyone equally. For example, Ahmadiyya Muslims who are in Pakistan, Hajari Muslims in Bangladesh who have been persecuted in spite of the fact that they are Muslims have been excluded. Tamil Hindus are excluded. Indigenous faith people have been excluded. So this law has remained an ill-drafted piece of legislation, and therefore we need to probably raise our voice not only about the possibility of an influx, which I think has not been much at this point of time, because no Hindu from Bangladesh would like to cross over for various reasons at this point of time. Even no Bangladeshi Muslim would like to come over to this side. So infiltration has become a fringe phenomena at this point of time because of increased security, border control, etc., everywhere. So that kind of possibility, I don't see that because of CAA there will be large scale kind of influx. That is not going to happen. So that possibility can be ruled out, yet one should be alert and alarmed about it if there is any such possibility opened up in a clandestine manner by anybody. So CAA probably needs to be redrafted. That will be my position, and it needs to incorporate those areas where it should include other faith and other people who can be extended, and also plug those areas where there is a possibility of a uncontrolled influx. So it should be made a little more reasonable, which has not been made. So this is my opinion.
Thank you, Professor. Kompat, I want to ask you this question, since you're a senior journalist and you've seen and have written so many columns on this. Many of us feel that, the fact that the government of India notified the CAR just a few days before the Lok Sabha polls dates were announced, many says that it's politically motivated, while others say that the BJP is merely trying to cover up because there is an electoral bond scam that's going on. So they were saying like maybe they want the CAA to supersede that scam.
Yeah. See, this time we don't have a Pulwama. Last time there was a Pulwama that, hyped up the BJP as the great defender of this country. So a lot of people were expecting something that they would pull out a rabbit out of their hats. And I think probably they don't have something like that to pull out, so they've used the CAA. It's a ready-made instrument, you know. And because in this country today, emotions are running very high. People don't act on reason. People are not rational any longer. The whole objective of the BJP is divisive. It's divisive politics that it's playing, and it seems to be succeeding from, if you look at all kinds of YouTube channels and videos and these Ram Bhakts and all kinds of elements. Today I was watching Desh Bhakt, no? The YouTube channel, and there they were showing how people are actually acting like WWF, no? But they are all BJP people. They trash people online, and they trash people on camera, and they show all that. You know, it's trying to create a very violent mentality in people, because it is so easy to activate that side of the mind of people. They're playing a very psychological game as well. So you can take it from me that between now and the elections a month later, all kinds of tactics will be used. And it's important for us here, therefore, to use our minds and not get carried away, because you find a substantial number in this city who support the BJP. Why do they support the BJP? Because they feel victimized in this state. We've always called them the Khar, non-tribal, this, that. And a lot of people actually are wanting that something similar like happened in Jammu and Kashmir, the revocation of Article 370 to come here as, they want that the sixth schedule be done away with. And this is something we really need to be focusing on in our discussions. Because if you fight fire with fire, it's not going to work. We need to fight this battle. It is a battle of the mind. And we need to be really able to see that, especially people who are offering themselves as candidates. What is their feeling on this? The other day when we had a discussion at Sankardev College, the BJP proponents have said, we have nothing to fear because it's not going to be applied in 6 schedule areas. Well, a large part of the city of Shillong is outside the 6th schedule. So how do we look at that? And already that area is so populated. You know, the man to road to space population is very, very high. So these are things we need to discuss. And I want to say this, without offense to anyone. By asking for an instrument like the inner line permit, I don't know that you can fight the CAA with this. You know, it is like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Because the inner line permit is not going to be granted, believe me, for many reasons. And if we ask for this, we will probably aggravate the situation, because we know which way the wind is blowing for this election. We don't want to aggravate the situation, so my plea is, let us use our sense of reason in deciding any issue.
Thank you, Kong. But Donald, since we're talking about the applicability of the CAA in the non-scheduled areas in the city of Shillong, do you see, any further danger to the indigenous community in Shillong city, because we are very close to Assam, and it's likely that there will be influx or infiltration?
Okay, Kong, here is the first thing that I would like to remark. When we talk about non-scheduled area, we can see that there are very few tribals, very few Khasis. There are localities in which there is not even a single Khasi house. But let us look around Shillong. There are scheduled areas, Laban, Laimkra, Panthoramkra, Naumansong. What is the status of the tribals, of the indigenous Khasis there? Aren't they minorities there? So we should understand that CAA will impact us hugely. Yes, they can enter first, let's say from Assam, or from Bangladesh, they will enter Meghalaya and settled in the non-scheduled areas. But then they can move. Let's say they can move to Mauba, they can move to RR colony, they can move anywhere that they like because they have obtained a valid document, say an epic from the government of Meghalaya. So that is how the influx will come into our state. Anything else?
Sakili,
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Benjamin, during the hearing of the Supreme Court hearing on the petitions, the Kapil Sibal had said that, you know, usually if an act is being passed by the parliament, it takes usually within 6 months for the rules to be notified. But in this case, it's after 4 years. Why do you think the BJP that's ruling in the center is taking so much time? Don't you think this is illegal?
It's like kumpong I kong Pratisha Mentan. They were waiting for the right time, and this is the right time. You started with that. They were waiting for the right time. It is true that you have to do everything within 6 months, but then again there's a provision whereby you can keep on taking permission of 6 months extension. That is what this BJP, the NDA government at the center has been doing. Man kapor, man ka henry bana aikum to kishim permission. There are certain committees and frameworks in our parliamentary system, right? There's a framework, there's a time frame. Within that time frame, you have to get your legislations, your rules, everything done. Okay? If you're not able to do that, there's still a way out for you. Every 6 months, you have to take permission, right? Various committees are there. You take permission from them that give us another extension of 6 months. For the last 4-5 years, that is what BJP has been doing. But minta anda kala biang bha kapor ki penui ya kani. But kadai shisha ba ka CAA but ka Citizenship Amendment Rules 2024 yakabaki amend from the rules of 2009. In the rules of 2009 kidon ki provisions tang kato katni kanika amendment of 2024 yaki rules kala at shi bonsha and kawe kambong isa pasanjit manya ba the documentation process to prove that you can claim for citizenship is actually very, very flawed. Like for example, when you apply for citizenship in India, it can happen in 2 ways. Citizenship by registration or citizenship by naturalization. Citizenship by registration means you have some connection to India. You are a person of Indian origin by yourself or your parents or your grandparents. It's just that you have not been living in India for quite some time. So in this case, citizenship banyo kahamsug. If you don't come ki documents ban proof ba fide na Pakistan, Bangladesh or Afghanistan. What are the documents? Ba pila ajuli school katuga jaka, pidang some mark sheet, some report card. Ba pibam ration na katuga jaka, you have some ration card. Nangta ba pili puli in some university hantu, you have some proof. Or some land document but you have just to establish and then the second level of to prove is that you have come to India before 31st December 2014. India in some school, college or university, or you have an Aadhaar card, a PAN card, a driving license, but kita ki documents terter lani hakapor census ki one le survey hiying jung phi ki IFT slip blood survey, you show that slip, then you can prove you were here before 31st December 2014. You can do that. So citizenship by registration is pretty easy to get. Citizenship by naturalization is just a bit difficult because here you are not a person of Indian origin. You don't have any connection to this country. Okay, even in terms of your parents or grandparents, relative or anything, you have no connection at all. You are purely a foreigner in this case. Kumbong iba Donald Mene. Totally 100% a foreigner. Hamni kishu add lightly additional provision. Kabaningkong kalongba, you have to give an affidavit when you file the online application. You also have to give an affidavit, and mind you, affidavit is a legal document. You cannot lie. If you lie, you can be taken to court. You have to give an affidavit, but whatever I have mentioned here everything is true to the best of my knowledge. And then yakani ka affidavit bapi airu, they will second by another Indian citizen. Like in this case, Ikongpat, you inhabit second yanga, but whatever Benjamin is writing is true. On top of that, only a foreigner, in case of citizenship by naturalization, he has to show proof that he has adequate knowledge of any one of the Indian languages mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India. No, and most importantly, hangta kanwan beka English but ka Hindi. And adequate knowledge again kila define. What is adequate knowledge? Either you must know how to speak or, not and, or speak or read or write, not and, or everyone can speak English, everyone can speak Hindi also for that matter. No, and then kada ihanta baka concerns ka boong ka KSU bari ba Donald, I think it has got some grounds. No, nagsupan ko in point hangnim. According to the Khasi states and the municipality areas, na mga Portuguese British computer harian bang your independence. Ki amba wards 8, 9, 10, 11. Kini kibahab European ward, Terter, Police Bazaar, Jail Road. They will be outside the purview of 6th schedule of the Constitution of India. Hamdi lies the crux of the matter. Chief Minister Buran Jungi, Konrad Sangma, on record, why should we worry? 99.99% of the state is outside the purview of CAA. But here lies the issue. Ladang iki wards 8 to 11. What are the areas? Let's try to understand. European ward roughly kasdang na poskol Painaun, Lower Lachumia, kahiyar kumto shikhi sharum, nang ta kakta ka Police Bazaar, kakot chapo Jail Road, touching some parts of Polo, etc. European ward and these areas, CAA, Kamtrekam is a small area. Actually, it's not a small area. All of us, we know about Shillong. Just picture, Pine Mount School, Lower Lachumbe, you come down, Police Bazaar, Jail Road, Polo. That's a huge area. 10 square kilometers. That's a huge area. In terms of the area, we'll be able to picture how big the problem is. And hangta kan kawan ke issue. Hangli umintrekam. Taba pitit nga puli kong iban yakaniga provisions of the rules 2024. I still had one question in my mind. No, there are two levels to define citizenship. Kawai kadon ka district level committee, kawai pat kadon ka enforcement committee. District level committee will decide basically everything. So, as far as I can understand, for Ahmedabad, for example, recently Ahmedabad district granted citizenship to 1,137 apply through CAA. In our case, what will we mean by district level committee? Does district level committee in our case convert East Khasi Hill district, or does it mean only in the area Ibalait? Lada ide in the area Ibalait, then it cannot be a district level committee. I think this is one gray area for our state. And of course, on top of that, there are other committees which will finally say, yes, you are or you are not a citizen of India. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor, I want to ask you a question because there seems to be a link between the NRC, the NPR, and the CAA. And in 2020, the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom released a legislation fact sheet on the Citizenship Amendment Act in India, and they stated, and I quote, "There are serious concerns that the CAA serves as a protective measure for non-Muslims in case of exclusion from a nationwide national register of citizens, a proposed list of all Indian citizens. With protections for non-Muslims in place under the CAA, however, any future NRC process would largely impact Muslims alone." How do you see this, sir?
So, I think they are making a point here, because CAA's exclusion of Muslims make them vulnerable to any such procedure where ordinary people cannot prove their ancestry, their citizenship by way of documentation, because collecting documents become very, very difficult. Let me give you the case of Manipur, for example. Manipur government is asking for NRC, and they are saying that 1961 is the cut-off date, you see. Now, you know the Meitei tradition. Meitei tradition is that if a Meitei gentleman or a lady dies, all her documents are floated into water or they are destroyed. So much of the Meitei elderly generation cannot prove that by documents they belong to Manipur. Of course, the purpose of NRC in Manipur is different, is to look at the other communities. So there is a process of othering that is involved in NRC all the time. It's not exactly a strict legal and constitutional procedure, because if it is a legal and constitutional procedure, it has to apply across the board. Now what has happened in Assam? Out of 19.5 lakh people who are excluded by the NRC, 2 lakh people, including Koch Rajbangshis and Garos, are indigenous people, and they are excluded. Around 5.6 lakhs Bengali Hindus are excluded. Around 4.5 lakh Bengali Muslims are excluded. And rest are having, indigenous status also. Some Karbis are excluded. Some Boros in Karbi area are excluded from NRC, you see. So NRC can become an exclusionary process which does not really separate the citizen and the non-citizen. Necessarily it doesn't. Now coming of the CAA will facilitate a certain kind of people to say that, even if we are excluded from NRC, we can get our citizenship back through CAA. Now that is one gray area that should have been plugged, as I was trying to say. Now NRC, if it is a kind of a determination, howsoever faulty that is, that found out 19.5 lakh people, of which 5 lakh are children, So that itself is a very big issue. Another 6 lakhs are women. So women and children are comprising of 11 lakhs, cutting across all the groups, which violates all the international conventions that you cannot declare women and children as stateless. It's against the Statelessness Convention in which India is a signatory. So therefore, human rights issues have to be also sensitively looked at, along with the concerns that various kinds of peoples have. Indigenous peoples concern, the idea of protecting the 6 scheduled areas, all these have to be incorporated as a module inside the rules, so that the mismatch and the lack of harmony can now be mitigated, and that's very, very important here.
Thank you, sir. Kongpat, Northeast region, it's a region which had just come out from so many ethnic clash or driven by many ideas since independence, and the introduction or the implementation of an act like the CAA would likely reignite or rekindle those violent nature that used to happen, the incidences that used to happen in the Northeast region.
I don't think we've come out of the ethnic clashes. Manipur is a classic case of something that can happen in this region and nobody will care. It's going to turn 1 year on the 3rd of May, and nobody is concerned. So you kill one another, the nation doesn't care. So if we go back to that era of gunfire, I don't know if it will serve any purpose other than pulling down the economy and destroying whatever livelihoods have been created in this period of peace. So there will be groups, there will be groups that will be looking out for any opportunity to resurface, because it's an easy way out for them. They will use CAA as an alibi, but their intent is something else. So governments, I think, in this region should be on the lookout. I think security should be wary of such things cropping up. But when I look at the state governments across the region, I don't see any sense of urgency. I don't see that. I don't see that they've had meetings to discuss the impact of CAA on their states. The Assam Chief Minister is the only one who is assuring us that it's not, you should take it as a run-of-the-mill kind of thing. And the real citizens have nothing to fear, and that we have to protect our brothers, our Hindu brethren who are persecuted elsewhere. Other than that, the other chief ministers have remained largely silent. And then when you speak of, you speak of Manipur, then you're thinking of the Kuki Zo, who are Christians, persecuted in Myanmar. Then there are Christians, I don't know what is the number of Christians being persecuted in Bangladesh, because the last time I visited the country, I found a lot of Garu people there, and I asked them, actually asked them if they are, under any kind of pressure, persecution, or discrimination, and they said no. So I think it's quite a gray area here.
So do you think that unlike in 2019 when most of the leaders in the Northeast, including our Chief Minister, they were very vocal against the CAA, but now are they like taking it lightly, considering the fact that it's not going to affect the 6th schedule, or maybe because Lok Sabha election is drawing near?
See, all our state governments are aligned with the BJP. So how do you balance that? That's the question, no? Do you go against them and then you put yourself in a false position where you're not going to get any more funds are going to dry up? It comes down to that.
But Donald, we know that the KSU, being under the aegis of the Northeast Students Organization, I believe you work closely with the All Assam Students Union, which has very much led the Assam movement in the early 1980s. And many says that the CAA violates the Assam Accord of 1985, and that there's serious concern, law and order concern in the state of Assam right now. And if that, God forbids, if that happens, will it affect Meghalaya?
I cannot speak about what will happen in the future. Yes, Assam is mengilam na mga diga jala ba kiba buntam gini ki illegal immigrants kiba hadumanta you cannot determine who is the real Assamese. There is the question in Assam kabang who is the real Assamese. Ti habagimi gitu kami ka conflict kami balaja in 1983 po Assam kaba launch movement ko All Assam Students Union kasadang na po Mangalday na po Darang District. Nadu katuwas tang hi ni ka anti-foreigners movement jong ka Assam. Madu katuhi ba pulang bansay ni ka Assam akot. Hoy kaladon siya kato ka illegal determination of illegal immigrants determination tribunal 1983 bangalakaran mene which was struck off by the Supreme Court. Hadin kata pada kami isaka Assam akot hangi di signatories ni central government, state government ng tabat ki civil society organizations kabaguntob ko All Assam Students Union. Dengan melawan karan on behalf of the All Assam Students Union, Henry nisutu pat ba it will have a very huge impact in Assam and also in Meghalaya and Tripura. Namar considering ba ni ka border jung Meghalaya and Assam is about 900 kilometers, a stretch of 900 kilometers. The people can enter from any parts of Assam into Meghalaya. You see, because when we conduct checks on illegal immigrants, whenever a document that will produce, they said that they obtain it from Assam. So that is a question lang ko aban kanta ay kanu ka community Henry from their community elders they receive that document. Lalu ipet yang ni apa Shillong rode within Shillong also there are certain groups even in scheduled areas. Kalau encounter kata kau apa por barang lang jelas ketri jo ki isi mo from circle tu por. Kaya kebangilan kalau ba kadorbar Shillong apa mo pram kiwan banyak kendu ini dikim to meet us kiwan bangi ide kadorbar Shillong Henry kini ki non-tribals pada ki set up the kawai ka village council ka ki set up the village council bagi sang ban issue kot kisla. Mat ka basno nungo kalau ba ka office ng deputy commissioner ki pedang ya kini ki kot kisla ka ba issue kata ka village council. Tinakalian ngajungi niled bagni haban bu daga jing ujor khamat jong ka Khasi Autonomous District Council. Menu ka ki HEDC ka ai sernot ya kata ka village council jung non-tribal sebang issue residential certificates. Kita gigi jate kalau kai ka ba ni haban perkhat la lagi mi jai groups mentra ni encounter Colonel jong ka Indian Army nang tin po zonal recruitment office wang i kumnu wang ba recruitment for the army in Meghalaya is meant only for Meghalians, but there is a certain council there in Jahlupara which has been issuing residential certificates to people coming from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh so that they can apply for recruitment in the Indian Army from the Meghalaya quota. So those are the cases ki bang you encounter nakapor sakapor. But kalau gigi ba manihi kum kajak menteri namar ba ni kemang meneh po pertanyaan tentang khasan lakngut. Tentang Bangladesh kini ki Bangladeshi Hindu gidan 1.6 crores. Taki influx kawan pi north, south, east, west kawan baik. Taki ni kabu sisai ini ha kajing ma hoi ka schedule ka 6 schedule ngamang ba kameda. Ka 6 schedule ka empower the ya ka riti ke dustur ke jongi kamtam ni traditional institutions. Hidan ki katukan ni ki anya po ke HDC ru ki bala bad yada malu mala ya ki khasi haka liangka khai ka pateng henrei lada nipit pat kala na kamla ban shim action pada ya ki brio ki bonrung illegally po Meghalaya kata kam don hapo provision jong ke HDC but ke HDC la dengi pe ki enforcement ru kadon ke shortage of manpower la lagi late ban khandra trading license at the end of the day they were bash up kata kaja dengi hab ban perkhat ni hab ban pusan bhai kata bismun
hatu kadang kanu kajing ko na hakar kom sri kam ne ka kajing bam biang ki ang ki kanun ki jong ni ban ithol ne ban detect ya kita ki illegal immigrant mo namar ba yo lada kadon kino ki jingle thok ni ka corruption ha ka ban ai smart ya kita ki banabari
ni ke Meghalaya kam don kanu ka andru ka banglap nang ka bodon bunyan ka ban yada ban protect ban safeguard ya ki indigenous inhabitants yang ni ka jela kam don kanu 6 schedule ka sudan nam tu kam da klan bor hodu ka tata ki jela ki don ladingi pek Arunachal Pradesh kadang ke inline permit, Mizoram kadang ke inline permit and Article 371G, Nagaland kadang inline permit and Article 371A. Article 371A lika ong baik ba kinu ki kinja kanun ki bawan lapo ka central government kinamla ban implement han Nagaland klam dayo ka jingbit na ka sarkar Nagaland. Tikila ban yada ile di re ka ba ong phi ka ba di ba corruption ru ngimla ban len hi ba vote bank politics sembah keren mana mata nama taban penkhanya ke vote bank politics itu ki beri ki benton epic ru kide ki kertong hi ki balik ban pha ya gitu ki beri ki jong ki man ra ya ki kot isla jong gitu ki beri benton kot dan selaban penyo epic tigini ki jana ka por takada beli ngila ban baki illegal immigrants kimdishu kita ki illegal immigrants kila ada ki legal migrants nomor ba kidon kum kita ki jaj brio ki ba pelek kum kita ki kot isla te kum ki turu ka di bendan ka kendon an hi ka badi ban te lakam khamtam yikan ka juan rum ka thap jig menderi la namar ngim dan ka ni ka mol la dengi yai up she up te ka mol hakawi ka singi sakala minority ya ban petru ka floating population hang ni hapo ka jala jungi ka buon ba maka floating population hi ka nam dei hi neki tribals ni te indigenous inhabitants ki buon ki balabar ka mol la dengi pet hapo ka slong municipality kamu 40% kila ada ki non-tribals but only 60% ki tribals. Sekali kalau ki bang ihap ban pusan ba tang hapo Shillong municipality kata kublai shibun.
Ngan kwa ban respond kendiat halor kani ka jing tungkam tungjam haka Indian Army lene ka Assam Regimental Center but kiwei mo. Temen haka ni ngai kendu iwei rang ba ubana ka Assam Regimental Center baru ong ba kam duna kiban apply ki brave jongi. In fact, there were just 1 or 2 applicants. So how do they fill up their quota? Te namar bangim juk hamyo e kendo shkiwi ki jakang e kendo tanghang ni but ki members dong ka KSU. So they bangi la they ban I training no e kini ki samla jongi ru ba kin le join ken e kini ki forces. Dai.
Pak Benjamin ngin keren halor kani chronology jong kani ka CAA mo menef la de ban batai kindian tingite ban aduk Islam arja sauter ki la don ka Jingthmu ban push ya kani ka an le penkela ya ki kato ka ni tali kendon jong Citizenship Amendment Act 1955 but tangga sarkar BJP wat ka sarkar Congress ruk laile ban wanra kum kita ki new policies and new sets of rules like the long term visas or passport ensuring that the process of issuing passport is without hassle of course, they will mention that it's because of humanitarian issues. This is all, we're doing all of this because we feel for the people. But at what cost?
Menang hapot bersedak itu in my opening remarks nga yaitu Jepangka history jongka CAA bakin ki amendment barokot CAB kumta ter ngamum repeat ya katuan marakan sa sulong repetition hele kan shimti point iba khaddu ba pi amupi at what cost. Home Minister jongka Government of India Amit Shah kali hatu ski kan menurut kiban apply ne kan menurut kiban benefit na kan dia uang ba as of today kum ka sarkar ngimdan any numbers ngimla ban ong kami kawai ka number na for intelligence bureau some time back and ka number along 31,000 plus only the number ubaya actually in the public domain. Recently kami kawai ka article hapo Hindu newspaper the total number of applicants kata kada ke estimate jong utu unang tho bala research these are not my numbers uang ba there will be 2.8 crore applicants and beneficiaries of this new act about kadiki rules 2024 ki bathmai. At what cost? The cost, if kanik analysis jonguni unang tho kalang correct in the Hindu newspaper, 2.8 crore people. Just imagine 2.8 crore people is as good as the population of Northeast India. As good as the population of Northeast India. Iba Donald Mene that was new information for me. Yang ba lalakidon around 1 crore plus 50 lakh are in Assam itself. That was like something new for me, right? Dilaragi ni connect gini ki numbers ki badan M. What is the cost? 2.8 crore, which means that lada bu lagi ni ki bri ki one support Northeast India, but ki jaka ki bampan protection kumangi ke Tripura but ke Assam. Te ingin sa long minority suki larang jem bumla banlei age pangkan dia but menang ala itu ipi ngala syurap ipi baro bancu picture ka Jingthmu jong kanika area European road ter kaba ka six schedule kam trekam hang turu pila ban picture, so that is the cost. And the bigger cost kalong kani 2.8 crore means civic amenities for another 2.8 crore people. Housing for another 2.8 crore people, drinking water for another 2.8 crore people, education for another 2.8 crore people, infrastructure, both hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure for another 2.8 crore people, which means that ni nilai struggle lupa kan dia. Habun kiliang, simpang kau bagi example, kayo kam yo jam. Minta haban penbiang sakili, ni haban compete sabat kini. Ladon lupa kajing duna kerbu kat ni, minta kinwan sakili. So that is the cost. But hakabakut kanja ayu. Damar bang ni haban allocate budget nam ta kidiru. Don't be surprised more in the next budget. Whatever government comes in May, second, third week of this year, whatever government comes there, don't be surprised if in the next budget they will have a special allocation for this particular aspect of the population. Makin haban le. Hapo Delhi kini kibri ki basusa akum tu ki tu ki perlok ki biya trace po Delhi kisah hakum ka colony. In that colony ki don be kini kibri ti ki buan na Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh and all that. Minta hakum tu basgi ba ki ka notify ka sarkar pedang po Gazette of India ka rules. There was a huge celebration in that colony, a huge celebration. A similar celebration happened in a certain corner of West Bengal. Hakabakadon community, bagi Khotrum ka Matwa community. There was a huge celebration over there. There was a huge celebration in certain parts of Assam also. Teman-teman yakini, nama mensyuar kini tangki refugees So when you are not really an Indian citizen, there will be no allocation for you. Mentah apa kila adai, there will be allocation for them. Kabamut ba, kapisah ni duna, la kalau ke sarkar pedang, ni ke sarkar jela. Ndang bala duna, la kurdo mentah hapen biang sei kini. Kata kadika kos kebangi haban pek. Basa kawai pat ka angle kebangi dan kamen pek kindiat. Kabali si nyumju daya kran ha hadu mentah, kadai kaliang law and order. Who can guarantee? Ya ke sarkar jela, ni ke sarkar pedang, mana bala ban guarantee? Dah kaba buram mo. Kaninga, please don't misunderstand. Kaninga kren dakabu burang ngam ong babaro khoi ki balong kunta kini ki ban apply. Hindi gini ban page kini ka way ka angle. Who can guarantee ba kini ki bri ki ba apply benta for Indian citizenship? They have a clean law and order history themselves when they were in that particular country. Feel no bala ban guarantee ya kata. Let's say kini ki wan wrong lasai me some other issue. I'm saying let's say no. Let's say, please don't misunderstand me. Now, this is another issue that you will have to look into. No, udan way perlog Muslim ujonga because uday Muslim, uang yanga, he's my Muslim friend, so I can tell this openly. Uang kumlo yanga, uang you see, Benjamin, one thing can also happen now. Do be a lang. One thing can also happen now. Any person from there. No, uday Muslim actually. This is only for Hindus and Sikhs and Buddhists and Jains and Parsis and Christians. They are only Muslim. So they will show themselves as being, for example, a Christian. You can do that, right? Show yourself as being a Christian. Rum shini shapo ri India. One shapo ka European ward ko juni yang ni po Shillong, right? Sa hapo police bazaar. Okay, apply your room. You have all your papers, but then you are still a person of that particular faith. Now this possibility is also there. This is not me saying, I'm quoting a very reliable source. So this is also possible. This is one angle. Let's say no guarantee about all these issues. So these are the costs that we are looking at.
Professor Prasenjit, we know that there is a lot of confusion when it comes when people talk about the CAA and the NRC, and many says the NRC is just a precursor to the the NPR is the precursor to this NRC, and there's a lot of talk. Majority of the petitions filed in the Supreme Court also is based on secularism, where they mentioned that religion was used as a basis to discriminate the people. Now, they've said that December 31st, 2014 is the cutoff date. But like Kongpat had mentioned earlier, that when she had gone to Bangladesh and spoke to a few people, many of them said that no, they were not persecuted. So was there any identification process being put in place to identify whether these people were really persecuted in their respective countries?
I mean, that is where the whole myth actually lies. The myth of persecution, I would say. Thank you. So Bangladesh doesn't persecute as a state any other religious minority anymore. Pakistan may have some persecutions. Afghanistan, because of Taliban rule, you see, there is persecution of the religious minorities, goes without saying. So as far as this picture...
They persecute women also.
Obviously. So it's a persecuting state, Afghanistan, at this point of time, though Taliban has moderated itself quite a bit at this point of time. So this whole myth about religious persecution is something that needs to be properly critiqued. And then the question of proving that one is persecuted, as it is given in CAA rules. How can one prove that one is persecuted? That's nearly impossible to prove. And the standard of proof that they have given there is that a case diary from that country has to be produced to prove that one is persecuted. Now, it is impossible to produce that kind of a diary. Even the school certificate and all that, they have to be verifiable. And at the back end, there is no verification of a Bangladesh school certificate, for example, that Government of India can undertake. So if Government of India has to legally accept a Bangladeshi citizen as citizen of India, it should be on the basis of a state-to-state discussion. That is not part of CAA. So therefore, CAA practically does not give much. Though politically a promise has been built up that it will give much, some people are misled. As far as Assam is concerned, except those who are excluded in NRC, rest of the people of Assam are all citizens. There is no crisis of citizenship absolutely in Assam. As in Arunachal Pradesh we can see, because of CAA, people are encouraged to go there. Removal of 370, now they're talking of removal of 6th schedule as well. So we have to secure the constitutional safeguards for ourselves. That's very, very important for anyone in this country, whether it is a citizen or a non-citizen. The constitutional safeguard that is given in the constitution, especially in the third part of the Constitution, the basic structure of the Constitution. We have to really strengthen that part. Unfortunately, we are diluting that part. That's it.
Thank you, Professor. We've spoken quite a bit, and now I would like to open the floor to questions. If any of the students have any question or you want clarification, any issue, you are free to ask any of our panelists your questions.
Yes, I would like to ask, I've come up with a few questions. And the first question is about the urgency, as you said. Why do you think there's not enough urgency in a community in Meghalaya of the people? What do you think are the reasons that there's not enough urgency about this issue?
See, this is a political issue. I think a lot of the population don't understand. And even if they understand, I think this is a society that believes in the culture of silence. How many people write? How many people express themselves publicly and rationally? I'm not saying YouTube videos bakshukran glumar mo klem don ka kandon ka babyang kan. We need critical thinking. There is not enough critical thinking. There is not enough questioning there. If people from the university, if people in high school do not ask questions or don't even dare ask their teachers the right questions, how do you think they'll ask the powers that be the right questions? You know, I think this sort of gathering should happen in the rural areas as well. Kini kicing kendo kide bandon cha keleng kisnong kitau brohoj. Naman ngila ayam lien tan banyak keren tanghang ni. Nang ni kasur kampoy shabade manpoy. We should have more of such meetings in the rural areas on the market days.
So as someone has mentioned about the Christians, about religion, so can anyone clarify whether the CAA may have an impact on the Christian religion?
I can say that, Christians from Afghanistan, they are one of the persecuted minorities in Afghanistan. There is persecution on Myanmar's Christians as well. There is persecution, not much persecution. Of course, in Pakistan, there is persecution on Christians. So, but these Christians, if they want to come to India, you see, again, their coming also will be halted and stalled by the difficult provisos that are there in CAA. First of all, they have to prove that they are persecuted with a case diary from police station. How will they prove that? So therefore, there is no chance of theirs getting citizenship by applying through CAA. Only those 31,000 people who are already registered will get their citizenship. Beyond this, everything will be suspended. CAA is miserably blind-sighted, I would say. And therefore, Christian issue it has not really tackled. But there is a need for tackling specifically the case of Christian persecution in some of the nations, which CAA has failed to tackle.
I'm also very concerned. One issue which I'm very critical of is that in the case of CAA and Meghalaya, we all know that there have been a lot of border disputes, which have, even after achieving 50 years of statehood, 50 years plus of statehood, the issue with our borders being unresolved. And we were talking about, ILP and the 6th schedule. Of course, the 6th schedule is already in the picture, and ILP, we have seen, people are asking for it. But my concern, rather than a question is, what will be the major impact?
I'll make it very short. I think ILP is like, we don't really know what's going to happen. Because even the state government is telling us all the time it's under examination. All the time it's always under examination. So is the language issue. But how do we deal with this issue of border and all that influx? I think the only way out for now is to work on the MRSSA, the Meghalaya Residents Safety and Security Act. I think that is the only one which we can look at.
Habasna andem kisna ya kaan ki pentrekam ya katakaan ki menengkong ki ka principal act Dalaya kapor kajuk kala tegmut katakaan kalalong obsolete. Lada katakaan kalalong obsolete kisah sedang ban amen mut ban pen nep susu ikibinyan. Ndre habang di bagakis jangka Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act pat kalong ba tangga Principal Act ru 4 sena. 4 penterikam, sorry, 4 penterikam. Kini District Task Force 4 set up. Ki entry exit point 4 lah ban penbaik kelan acquisition. Tangga taruh 4 lah ban lay kendiat ru ban penurlong ya kata ke MRSSE ke government pada kelas ang permidi ki ordinance kelas ang ban amen. Mat aku tu kapola dengilah ban implement ya ke MRSSE kala terekam ngonong EP. Henry namar ba ki amen mat naging amen pada ka draw ya ke attention jong ka Ministry of Home Affairs. Mat menta ka don hapo ka table jong Ministry of Home Affairs. Tim kumbakal kumbaong bakran mena Dr. Benjamin Young ba ILP is still under examination, inclusion of Khasi language is still under examination. Tinggi sulturu ba kaneka MRSSE amendment will still be under examination. Kata kadeka jingpet syai ka jungi ka seng hakaliang ka MRSSE kublishibun.
Kublishibun ba ngatray nila shimshibun ya kapor ni tinggal try ka ada kapor bangin penkut na kani ka kren ka jeng matas ni but kumban shupin as a summary I think many feel that the CAA is divisive and it's socially toxic and it cannot promote fraternity, equality, liberty and justice. On the contrary, CAA is likely to upscale the existing social discord in society and affect the integrity of our republic. Ongi ong ba ka jala Meghalaya kan na ka jing shakta jong ka ju pedre kam ya ka CA Henry ka jala jing kamla ban em na ne yeng hala tang na we gan kami ka jing gadan kami ki wei pa ki jala ba marjan tilada kita kami ka ain ka kta ki jala marjan hato kam kta ka jala ka jong kami ka di ka quest kami ka di ka jing kali bang ko an bo akhma jong pi ki ba pek ya kani ka program ru but pila ban island ni pesat jingmot iki Jingthmu ki jong pi ha ka comment section but sashi sin ko ban ai khublei ya ki panelist ki jong ni ki beishin menta ha kani ka jingya kran ni kani ka jingya therjum ki jong ni but ki simbo jing berkat ka pila sam das ni once again I thank you all our panelists for your time and for your valuable insight into this discussion and once again, a big shout out to MSU for agreeing to do this with us, and I hope in future we will be able to collaborate more and to hold more talk shows on other topics. So until we meet again next time with more exciting and interesting discussion, this is Iban Mauri saying thank you and take care. Bye.